A piñata can be filled with
candy!
And a car can be filled with
Gas!
And a donut can be filled with
Jelly? Well, raspberry filling? It's not really full, but it's in there. I mean, like, these things, cars can be filled with gas, piñatas filled with candy. You know, and it made me think of this scripture that Paul prayed. Actually, it was a prayer that he prayed, and the Bible records this prayer that he prayed for the Colossians. And he prayed that they would be filled with knowledge. You know, and not just knowledge. I want to talk about that, but let me talk about filled with knowledge. I mean, like a car filled with gas, or a piñata filled with candy. Like, people can be filled with knowledge, but knowledge about different things, like knowledge about Minecraft. I mean, you can have like all of this, you're just like filled with all of this information about Minecraft. Or you can be filled with all of this information about baseball, whatever like is that thing that's like you're really interested in. You can be so filled where like you can just be rattling off all of this information. But you know, Paul, do you think that's what he prayed, that they would be filled with Minecraft? No, was his prayer. He wrote them and he told them, he's like, my prayer for you is that you would be filled with the knowledge of God's will. He wanted them to be so full of God's will that they would know what God's will was about this or what God's will was about that. Like whatever the situation, whatever thing would come up in their life, that they would be filled with knowing what God's will. Because you know, a lot of times people can think that certain things are God's will that's not God's will at all. Like they could think this earthquake was God's will, or this tornado was God's will, or this like he fell and broke his arm and it was God's will teaching him something. But you know, those things aren't God's will. And so his prayer for them was that they would be filled with God's will, the knowledge of God's will. And you know, guys, this is my prayer for you, that you are filled with the knowledge of God's will. You know, I've prayed this prayer for you guys. And you know, this is a good prayer to even pray over yourself. I pray this over myself. I say, Father, I thank you that I am filled with the knowledge of your will, that I'm filled with it. I know what your will is about this. You know, even like when you have big decisions and big choices, you know, this is an awesome prayer to thank God. I'm filled, like more filled than this donut, but like filled with the knowledge of God's will. So guys, this is my prayer, just like Paul prayed this for the Colossians. This is my prayer for you, that you are filled with the knowledge of God's will. Well, I love you guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.